Hey, lovers. Welcome to the Book Lovers Club, the podcast where we celebrate Black sapphic love stories, one book at a time. I'm your host, Joy, a married lesbian, lifelong book lover, and relational communication scholar. Here, we don't just read the romance, we learn from it. I believe that love stories can do more than just entertain us. They can teach us how to love better, how to see ourselves more clearly, and how to create the love life of our dreams. Each week, I'll dive into sapphic stories written for us and by us, while weaving in personal insights and communication lessons you can take off the page. So grab your drink, get cozy, and let's turn the page together. Welcome to the club. Hey, book lovers. Welcome back to another episode of the Book Lovers Club. And y'all, the countdown to Christmas begins. I am so excited that the holiday is here because the sooner we get through Christmas, the faster we can get to my birthday, which is the holiday that really matters to me. So I am excited. Yes, that Christmas is here, but that Christmas season is coming to an end so that we can enter a new season and the real holiday begins, okay? Because it's Capricorn season. We are the leaders, the movers and shakers of the world. And y'all really need to give us our flowers. Like for real. Capricorns be holding shit down. We be running things. Okay. We bosses. We the goats. And I feel like y'all don't really be putting enough respect on our name. Okay. Capricorn season. The fact that we've endured blizzards, okay, snowstorms, hailstorms, all kind of inclement weather during our birthday season, and we still be out here thriving. I feel like we deserve flowers for that because y'all summer birthdays be doing too much. And when it's our time to shine, everybody act like it's too cold and the weather's bad and they can't come out and celebrate with us. So it's all right. It's all right. But Christmas season is coming to an end. Capricorn season is about to begin. Okay. Me and Issa Rae share the same birthday. One day I'm going to meet her. My birthday twin, one day me and Issa Rae gonna link up because we're both Black creators in this shit, and she's such an inspiration to me. Like, she really built her shit from the ground up. But that's my birthday twin, and I just know one day we gonna link up. One day we gonna meet. I'm going to be going out of town. I always take a trip for my birthday every year. I always go out of town because literally, if I stay in Chicago for my birthday, I will be snowed in. Every year, it's a snowstorm, blizzard, ice storm, a polar vortex, something on my birthday, and I don't really get to celebrate how I would like to celebrate in Chicago. So I have learned that for me to be able to enjoy my birthday, I need to catch a flight. I need to hop on a plane and I need to go somewhere. So this year, I really want to be somewhere that's warmer than Chicago. That's my only priority. When I travel out of town for my birthday, I try to go somewhere warmer. Except one year we went to Colorado and I really did enjoy that trip. But surprisingly enough, Colorado was actually warmer than Chicago. So I still went somewhere that was warmer. But we will be going to Arizona this year, and I'm very excited about that because I plan to do lots of hiking. I want to be outside in nature and just be one with Earth, okay? I am excited to see some new terrain, to be out in the desert. Hopefully, the weather agrees and our flight takes off as planned and nothing gets canceled and that we don't have any delays. But my birthday season is approaching. I will be out in Arizona doing lots of hiking and just enjoying my time in nature. So I've been enjoying Christmas season. Do not get me wrong, okay? If y'all been listening and y'all been following me on social media, y'all know I have been deep in the Christmas books, okay? I haven't really watched any Christmas movies low key. Like, I tried to watch one Christmas movie on Netflix and it was so bad that it reminded me why I was reading books in the first place, why I've been prioritizing books in the first place, because the stories are better. So I tried to watch that movie. It was one of their new releases that just came out and it was just so bad. I didn't enjoy it at all. It's like watching a train wreck or something. Like I couldn't peel my eyes away, but I wasn't enjoying the experience either. You know what I mean? So that after I watched that movie, I said, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. And I went back to the books. Okay, back to the books. So I've been enjoying holiday season. I've been knocking down the Christmas books. I've been reading Christmas books every day. In fact, I am 2 books away from hitting 150 books read this year. 2 books away. I never thought I would be one of those girlies that would be reading 100 plus books a year. My goal this year was to only read 1 book a week. So my goal was 52 books, and I thought that was ambitious. Actually, I take that back. I started off with 52 books, and then I went up to 75. And then I thought that was really ambitious because I read 52 books last year. So I was trying to match the goal. And I was like, you know what? Go hard or go home. So I exceeded that. I was like, let me go up to 75 to like really push myself. 150, and I'm actually probably going to be over 150 because, like I said, I'm 2 books away from my 150th book, but I have about 5 more books that I'm planning to read. But I've been deep into the novellas. So I've been reading a lot of novellas lately. So that's really not that hard to hit when you're reading shorter books. So it's been a lot of commentary on social media because now it's that time of the season when everybody's doing their end of the year wrap ups and like reflecting on the year and their favorite books and their top reads and just doing a lot of end of the year wrap ups. And the people who are not like heavy readers like this, like we read obsessively. It's some people that's reading 300 books a year. So my 150 seems like light work. Okay. But it's been just a lot of conversation around how are you all reading 100 plus books a year and working a job. Or then one girl put up a video saying like she feels like if you're unemployed and you're reading that many books that you need to give a disclaimer. And it's just a lot of feelings and vitriol about people who are reading a lot. And honestly, we are in a literacy crisis. So the way that people are attacking those who read a lot or questioning it, just a lot of skepticism. I have read this many books while working a full-time job. I also am very involved with my wife and my family. I'm very family oriented. Okay. I'm always doing something with my family. And I'm running this podcast. So I've been juggling all of this and I've been working. I am very much a Capricorn baby. Okay. I've been juggling multiple projects and working, and I'm about my business. In fact, I got promoted this year. I've been doing a damn good job. So it is quite possible to read 100 plus books a year and work a full-time job. I don't know when book reading became this competitive. And like I said, it doesn't make sense with the narrative that people are reading too many books when we're also living through a literacy crisis and people aren't reading books. You know, I think that anybody who's taking time out of their day, month, year, week, whatever, to read books, that is a great thing. Whether you read one sentence, one page, one book to 300 books, it doesn't matter. I am proud of you for reading. Okay. I'm proud of you for reading. I don't know when this became such a competitive sport. And there's so much pushback to people reading, and people like, y'all need to write book reports. Are you even retaining what you're reading? Like, do you ask people who watch film and TV as one of their main hobbies to like write reports and reflect on things like that in that way? So, like I said, it doesn't matter if you read one sentence this year versus 300 books. If you read something and you read a book, I am very proud of you because a lot of people aren't reading. Some people wear that like a badge of honor, like, I haven't read a book since high school. Well, I mean, you're missing out. I think the stories are better in books. But like I said in a couple of episodes ago, we all have our preferences. You know, what I like, another person may not like. So I've always been a reader and I've always gravitated towards books. And, you know, really getting back to things that I enjoyed when I was a child has brought me so much joy in my adulthood. But like I said, if you read a book this year, I'm proud of you. If you hit your reading goal for this year, I'm proud of you. And especially on my podcast, if you read some Black sapphic books this year, if you spent your money and time supporting Black indie authors that are doing the Lord's work to put stories out here for queer people, by queer people, then I rock with you and I'm grateful and I'm proud of you. Okay. Because we need that. I need that. I'm going to do a big recap post, like a wrap up post as we get closer to the end of the year, just with like some of my top reads and some of my favorite authors and favorite quotes and things like that. That's what I've been working on, is doing a big wrap up post to just celebrate some of my literary wins. And then especially on my podcast, y'all. So I went on Spotify and looked at my Spotify wrap up notes and like went on Apple Podcasts to get some of my analytics. I really wanted to know where I stood with my numbers. Okay, I'm a data girl. I touch a lot of data at work. I'm always looking at spreadsheets and data. So, of course, I'm going to take that skill set and apply it here. And I'm really excited for the growth that I've seen this year and just how much of a good start that I'm off to with my podcast. So, I'm going to share some of that stuff in my next episode because December's not over. So I don't want to share numbers prematurely because the year's not over. It's so many people doing reading wrap ups and stuff already. And it's like, y'all, we got one more week left in December. How y'all already doing your reading wrap ups? You know how many books I could read in a week? So no, I'm going to do mine closer to the end of the month and like really have more accurate data to share with y'all. But just know your girl been hustling and I've been working my ass off and doing all of that and reading 100+ books. Okay. So I know if I could do it, you could do it. For real. I'm working full time. Now, I will say where my lifestyle differs from other people, I don't have any children. So I am child free. But there are some women out here that are working, taking care of a spouse, okay, raising children, and reading 100+ books a year. All right. So like I said, if it's not something that you can do, cool, but don't knock those that can. And I don't see anybody out here like putting anybody down for not being able to read at the same speeds. Most people who are in this book space are just grateful that people are engaging in our content, reading these books, talking to us about books. And, you know, like I said, if you read one sentence this year, one book, I'm proud of you. Y'all, I read 32 Black Sapphic books this year. 32 Black Sapphic books. My top authors. Okay, we're going to go least to highest. But I read 2 Chintzia C. Higgins books this year. All right, so that was Devon and Chris Plan a Wedding and A Little Kissing Between Friends. I enjoyed both of those books. Low-key, Devon and Chris was probably my top Black Sapphic read of the year until I read Flirting Lessons by Jasmine Guillory. That book was so good to me, like an instant 5-star read. And I definitely enjoyed the conversation that we had about that book with my book club. It just gave us so much to talk about. But I had read Devon and Chris Plan a Wedding earlier in the year, and I just wish I can get that feeling back after I first read it. It made me feel so good. I enjoyed that book. I had went and found the author on Instagram to let her know, like, girl, thank you for writing this book. But that was before I read Flirting Lessons, and that book has taken the top spot for me. That is my favorite Black Sapphic read from this year. Last year, my favorite Black Sapphic book that I read in 2024 was Outdrawn by Deanna Gray. That book is still one of my favorites. I recommend that book all the time. I love Outdrawn. I really want my book club to read it this year so I could reread it and talk about it on this podcast. But Flirting Lessons is my favorite Black Sapphic read from this year. So I read 3 Kaylin Bayron books. So I read Cinderella is Dead, and then This Poison Heart and This Wicked Fate. I also read 3 Erica Alexander books this year. So I like her writing. I have a lot of her books. I just haven't read all of them yet. Some of them I read last year. But my favorite book of hers that I read this year was Where There's Smoke. I read 4 Carmen Lee books. Okay. So I read her Peach Blossom series. So that was 710 Split, The Relationship Mechanic, The Secret Crush Book Club. So I read those 3 Carmen Lee books. And then I also read her book Crossroads. So Crossroads is actually my favorite of hers so far. That book is underrated. I don't ever hear people talking about that book on social media and stuff like that. That book was really good. That was my favorite of hers. But L.M. Bennett, she took the top spot for me. She was my favorite Black Sapphic author this year. And like I said, I think she's underrated too. I don't hear enough people talking about her books. And that's why I was really excited to have her on my podcast because like I've just really enjoyed her writing. I like the slow burn. I like how descriptive she is in her writing. She writes with a lot of metaphors and things like that. I can always see her books being adapted into movies and being on the screen. But I read 7 L.M. Bennett books this year. 7. All right. And I think she's like mastered the novella. But my favorite of hers from this year is that Competing Desires series. All 3 of those books were fire. And like I said, I don't hear enough people talking about L.M. Bennett. I need y'all to read that. Okay, so that was Tap Out, Bad Beat, and Pit Stop. My favorite read of hers was Pit Stop at first because one, the creativity. I had never read a book about queer Black women F1 racers. Okay? Never. In the history of ever. Like, that was just so creative. And I learned so much about cars and F1 racing reading that book. But when I read Bad Beat, y'all, Bad Beat is fire. Mary and Jax, Mary is a bad bitch. Okay, Mary is a bad bitch. I love the way she wrote her character. And that book made me want to go to Vegas, made me want to learn how to play some poker. Like, I could really visualize it. It's just the creativity. So those are my top reads. And remember last episode, I told y'all I was trying to get to these book events. I secured my flight to go to Atlanta to go to Granger's book event at that Barnes & Noble so I could link up with my other Drew Collins alumni. All right? My other Drew Collins alumni. Granger, she made me a fan this year as well. I'm deep in the Drew Collins Granger fandom. I'm going to be reading more of her books in the new year as well. So Granger has a sorting test, like that'll put you in different colleges within the Maggie Gray, Drew Collins universe. So my quiz placed me in the School of Mythical. So I'm going to wear my black and white. I'm going to get my fairy ears. And I'm finna be in Atlanta at this book event with my book besties. So I'm really excited. But 2025 has showed me a really good time. I started my Bookstagram page on January 1. And as I'm coming up on a year of my Bookstagram journey and my book talk, I actually have more followers on book talk now. When I started that page after I started Instagram, I don't know what it is with the Instagram algorithm or whatever, but TikTok is superior. I'm just grateful that I did it and that the community has embraced me. And I have a lot of things on the horizon for the new year, and I'm very excited. I'll be talking more in depth about this in my January 3rd episode, but I'm just reflecting today. And it's just been a really wild ride, and I'm very grateful. And I've been doing all of this and just really sharing my love of books, and y'all have embraced me. So I just want to say thank you for listening to me and for supporting me. And I really hope y'all enjoy your holiday. But before I exit today, I did finish reading Boomtown. I finished Boomtown, y'all. That book was a wild ride. Some of the plot twists had me gagged. Okay, so if you have not finished Boomtown by Nic Stone, please exit stage left because it's about to be some spoilers, baby. I'm about to be talking about these books for a little bit before I hop off air. I told y'all I was struggling last week as I was listening to that audiobook, and I gave my reasons why. I ordered my paperback and I did enjoy it a lot better once I got the paperback. The audiobook narrators, they did a phenomenal job. It's not the narrator's fault. I think that this particular book, the way that it is written, it is difficult to follow that listening to it, at least for me. The names being so similar, Lyric and Lucky, it was hard for me to follow. Okay? Then you got the government names, Damaris, Micah, Felice, like all these names, it was difficult knowing what was going on and who was narrating and all of that stuff. Because like I told y'all last week, her chapters were told in the past. They were flashbacks, like telling us in the past. Lyrics chapters, they were telling us what was happening, unfolding in real time. And then we also had some chapters that were from Charm, aka Damaris's point of view, all right, that came later in the book. So I feel like things really started to click for me once we got to Damaris's chapter and could hear about things from her perspective. And like I said, it was just so many plot twists in this book that had me gagged, okay? The fact that Thomas McIntyre, T, the white man, the villain, that he was part owner of Boomtown was like the biggest plot twist. I did not see that coming. He was part owner. Crazy. But the guy who actually owned the strip club, I feel like he knew way more than he was letting on. The fact that they knew about Felice's assault because they had cameras in the room. So he knew how much sexual assault and harm is being caused in this strip club that has gone unchecked. This book to me really does highlight who can go missing without the public outcry. The fact that Micah Johansson, the fact that Lyric was fighting so hard to find these girls and she was getting so much pushback, that felt like an act of resistance in itself. Like, no, I will not be silent. Somebody needs to find out what happened to these girls. It was just so much harm being done and just being swept under the rug, and only because it's Black women. So I really do appreciate the author trying to raise awareness around that, especially in the sex industry. What also stood out to me, the societal judgment that people place on certain professions, the class issues, the elitism, how that intersects with race. Because even in The Chef's Christmas Charade by L.M. Bennett, Rhodes was a chef. She was in the service industry, and how she was working for this affluent family and not working. She was the mother's fake girlfriend, but they didn't know that. All they know was that she was dating the mother and she was also a chef and helping to prepare the meals. And the way that Andre talked down to her because she was in the service industry, it just reminded me of the same things that we saw in Boomtown. I think both of these books really showed us the way that race and gender and class intersect and how women are treated, especially in certain professions. So Boomtown is one of those books you got to give it a second read. Because I feel like on the first read, I missed some things. So when I went back and read it a second time, that's when things were like clicking in place and I could appreciate it differently than I did the first time around. We saw a lot of aspects of sisterhood that, to help them survive this very traumatic and toxic lifestyle, they really leaned on other women and leaned on each other to get through that and to navigate that, and just the power of sisterhood. But Boomtown is a Black sapphic book. There was love shared between Lyric and Lucky. They started off like being dance partners and romantic partners, and then out of nowhere, at least according to Lucky, out of nowhere, Lyric just stopped messing with her like that and broke her heart. But Lyric was going through her own issues with her cancer diagnosis. That's another plot hole I didn't quite understand. If they were as close as you say they were, why would Lyric just stop talking to Lucky without explaining anything? I don't know. That didn't quite make sense. And why wouldn't Lucky go and inquire and ask? Like, girl, what's going on with you? They were lovers. And clearly Lucky was in love with Lyric. Lyric was in love with Lucky. Like, I just feel like there wasn't enough to explain the breakdown in that relationship. I know that Lyric had that cancer diagnosis, but there wasn't enough to me to explain why that relationship ended up the way that it did, why the distance ended up the way that, I don't know. That could have been fleshed out a little bit more for me. And then Lucky ending up with LaBrittany, Thomas McIntyre's wife, her partnering with her and ending up with LaBrittany. That was a plot twist I didn't see coming. I kind of saw it because when she was at that farmer's market and she had first got introduced to LaBrittany, all of the signs were there that she had an attraction to her. But still, that was a strange plot twist. That girl is a supervillain too. How many other girls have you helped Thomas get rid of? Like, let's be fucking for real. How many times has this happened before where he became obsessed with a woman like he did Felice and like he did with Damaris? How many times has this happened? And he leaned on you to do something about it so his hands didn't get dirty. I don't know. I just feel like more needed. I needed to understand LaBrittany's role a little bit better because how she got off so easy. She low-key a villain too because she been helping her husband cover up these crimes. And I don't believe that Felice was the first one. No, this had to have happened before. So the fact that Felice could even be with LaBrittany, knowing she probably did this to other Black girls prior, and she's a Black woman herself. I don't know. That was a weird, I feel like I said, I feel like there was just some parts of the story went so slow. And then some parts sped through and we didn't get enough information. I got a lot of questions, okay? A lot of questions. Also, Lyric stealing Lucky's money. So you sat there and watched her get assaulted and then robbed her? But you know, when people are in survival mode, when you're faced with these crazy life or death circumstances and like trying to figure out how you're going to keep your bills paid and keep your lights on, like you really do have to make some uncomfortable decision making. But that betrayal, finding out that she betrayed Lucky like that, I really understand why she's trying to redeem herself by finding Damaris and knowing that Charm disappeared in the same way that Lucky did, and they had this connection to the same white man that comes up in this strip club all the time. Like her choosing to not let it go, her choosing to figure out what happened was a way for her to redeem herself after the betrayal. That was a plot twist. I did not see that happening. Like, damn, you watched a girl get assaulted, then you robbed her? And you say you love her, that this is someone that you love. But you know, this environment, this lifestyle, like the type of living conditions that people are dealing with and the circumstances that they're trying to navigate, like I said, it really does force these really extreme types of decision making. This book has so much potential. I just feel like there were a lot of parts of the story that didn't get fleshed out well. I feel like the ending was rushed, but I am glad that both women were safe and that they survived this situation. I'm glad that both women survived this situation and that Lyric was able to redeem herself and reunite with Felice, and that Charm or Damaris and Felice were able to connect because obviously that's her daughter that she had to give up for adoption. And I just hate that Damaris was groomed and assaulted by the church guy, the guy that was over her the youth group, and he didn't have no consequences. Like, this just crazy. Like I said, this book really made me feel like, look, we need to protect Black women at all costs. Just the way that Black women are just dismissed, ignored, and abused like this, and these men are able to get away with it without consequence. I really hated that. She was groomed and abused by the youth pastor, and she's the one that got kicked out. And he out here still in the church, probably doing this to other girls. Like, how these predators get protected in our communities. I just can't. So I'm glad that Nic Stone chose to write this story and shine a light on some of the things that are happening in the sex industry. I saw parallels between how the women were being treated in this book as dancers versus how Rose was being treated as a cook and someone in the food service industry, and how society placed judgments on these professions. But I really enjoyed The Chef's Christmas Charade. It was just a quick, easy Christmas book to read for the holidays. I loved her spin on the fake dating. So The Chef's Christmas Charade was a 4.5. And then Boomtown for me was a 3.5. So I'm just waiting now to hear from my book club to see what our group rating will be and see what they thought. So thank you. I appreciate y'all. We got some giveaways coming up. My Black Sapphic Book Challenge giveaway is coming to an end. So if you participated in that book challenge, please make sure you tag me in the post so I can enter you in the raffle so that we can get that free book out to the winner. And then also, I'm going to be doing a giveaway soon with Aunt Georgia Lee. I hope that you all have an amazing holiday season and a happy new year. And just thank you again for supporting me on this journey. And I appreciate you. Happy holidays. Thank you for tuning in to the Book Lovers Club. If you love today's episode, make sure you subscribe so you never miss a chapter. And if you're feeling generous, leave a review, because you know those reviews help other lovers find us. So if you want to keep this conversation going, please join me on Instagram or hop on over to Fable to join the virtual book club. And until next time, remember, the stories we read can help us write the love lives of our dreams. See you next Sapphic Saturday.